Shalom. Kohalal, Yahawah, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Karakadash. Good morning. It's your brother Obadiah Yahukanan, and we want to continue with the lesson that we have been given by the Royal Kakadish in reference to how the lives of the prophets have been Yahweh's mapped out the end time directives that are happening right now. And that's a perfect segue into understanding what's actually going on. And of course, I always do a little commentary first before we get completely started. That way, what we're doing is we're making sure that we get all information in to cover all aspects of stuff that the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is doing, which is very important. Okay, just to kind of start out this morning, clearly the the world is reeling and zealing from the hand of the Most High and the way He is performing His introduction to His judgment and His recompense on mainly the table of 18 nations in the world. He's showing signs that are covering the fringes, and he's circling around those fringes to internally incapacitate the table of 18 nations that have went against his children and his selection of who he deemed to be his chosen. And just to kind of bring some things home to light, and just some observations that I think if you are dialed into the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai from his spiritual guidance and his word, his holy scriptures, his Pentateuch, his Torah, his Bible, then you have been given the insight and the vision to see the hand of the Most High and how he operates. You know, the Most High has showed his method of operation, his MO through history, that when he has a problem with a nation of people, he enacts his correction, his judgment and discernment on the nation, and he will show a small representation of what is to come as far as his judgment is concerned on a nation of people. And we are perfect examples. Oh, Father in heaven, are we perfect examples of his judgment on the nation as his children, as his Hebrew Israelite children who have strayed away and gone astray, and so many of them are still out there. We are getting corrected. As long as you stay out there away from the Most High and not obeying his law, statutes, and commandments, you still have the curses that are on you and subject to you, and just doing things that are associated with what the curses are applied to. So naturally, what you have to deal with is, of course, you may claim to be under grace, and you have a measure of grace. And let me explain that part. The measure of grace is based on the fact that because Yahushai HaMashiach, who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ, came and fulfilled the prophecies he was supposed to fulfill upon his name and his prophetic position. Yahushai, who they call Christ, came to only fulfill things that were prophesied of him that should be fulfilled. the ignorance in religious practitioners to think that because he came in and sacrificed for his people, which came from his lineage and his 12 tribes, that he did this for the whole world. This is not the case. And then when you tell them and read this to them just the way it's said, the first thing they say is because they don't like what's said, and then because it doesn't add a value of inclusion to them from something that they captured, took hold of, stole, and tried to write themselves in. Since they don't like what you say, they say you take it out of context. Well, we know that. Okay, so we're going to look past that because that's ignorance, and we're going to go to Yahawashi, who they call Christ, fulfilled prophecies that were spoken of what he was to fulfill. He didn't do away with the law. He didn't sacrifice himself he wasn't sacrificed for the whole world. And if they just read it, they can see it and understand it. But clearly, they have an agenda to read whatever they want to read. So you have what you have. But not to digress too much in terms of that, and not that that's a digression, but let me get to where I'm going. If you notice right now, this particular plague that's capturing the attention of the entire world, the corona virus, I call it the caveman virus, the caveman coronavirus. Okay, and I'll explain why I call it that too. The CMCV, the caveman coronavirus, the CMCV, I coined it first, okay, the CMCV. The caveman coronavirus is attacking primarily the nations that have been identified in the scriptures as the ones that strongly went against the Most High's chosen people, the Hebrews, the Hebrew Israelites, and where they came from in that situation. And okay, let's pull it up. Okay, so where will we pull that up? Psalms 83. And then we'll also speak to the table of 18 nations as well. Let's go to Psalms 83 and look at where the CMCV is hitting, because that's what the Most High decided he wants to do. Okay? All right, Psalms 83. Let's go there. And let's read it for ourselves. Okay? Okay. Shalaki. All right, here we go. Psalms 83. This is Yahawah speaking. So he's telling you where he's sending the CMCV, the caveman coronavirus first, and how he's starting to show you the fringes of who he's getting this with first, and then going and dealing with the rest of them as well. And you can tell by the nations that are being completely slammed by this. Keep not thou silent, O Yahawah, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. This is talking about the Father. So in other words, if I read it the way they put it, it says here, keep not thy silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, and the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And that's just stopping at verse 4. This is what they have done to us. They've taken away our identity. They've taken who we are and our culture and our belief system and our Father, and they have transformed it into something that's abominable. They've got a fake white Jesus running around the entire planet, which clearly is not helping them with the CMCV right now, the caveman coronavirus. They're not getting any help from that. They're not mentioning that, and I'm going to talk about that too. Also, they have taken parts of our culture and they've sparsed it out to all these table of nations around the world that have been using what our belief systems are in very abominable fashions. They've been using them in completely illegitimate and wrong ways, okay? And and that's what we're seeing happening. And if you even go back to the time uh, when Nebuchadnezzar and his son Belteshazzar, they were using and I'm just roughly paraphrasing, they were using the sacred things from the temple of the Most High Yahawah, and the cups and the golden cups and the various different vessels and things, and they were drinking from them and eating from them and doing abominable things until the Most High hand showed a hand writing on the wall, and he put meeny meeny tinkle your phrasing. Being meeny meeny tinkle your phrasing was telling them when it was translated by Daniel, he said that your country has been weighed and measured. Okay, your nation, your world has been weighed and measured. And this is what the Most High has done now. He has weighed and measured this earth and these countries, okay? And then he also talked about the fact that now, since they're out of balance, they're going to be taken down. You phrase it, and then, of course, at the end, they're going to be destroyed. So, meaning tinkle your phrasing, he's basically told them what was going to happen to them and how they were going to lose their kingdoms and how it's going to come down. You can go in the book of Daniel and read and check that out for yourself. I trust you to study this. Don't just wait. Okay? All right, so, okay, he said, 4, they have said, come, let us cut off them from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more. 5, for they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. Okay, now let's read who these people are and who these nations are now that are seeing the CMCV and this caveman coronavirus and how it's starting to take them down. Okay, here we go. The tabernacles of Edom, that's Rome, Italy, and all those areas. Okay, the tabernacles of Edom. The Ishmaelites, okay, those are the Arabs, okay, and over in that area. All right. Of Moab, so you got the Moabites, which of course are the Chinese, where they say this originated from. Okay, you got the Moabites, which also would include the Russians. They're soon going to be talking about this virus coming to them too. Okay, the Hagarenes. Okay, and so you got the Hagarenes, which also include some of the Russians and the Turks and all them. Okay, you got Gibal, and Ammon, which is the Japanese. Okay, you got that happening over there. You got Amalek, which is in Germany, and of course the Philistines, which are in Africa. That we're talking about the Hamites, not us Negroes. That's not us. That's not us Hebrew Israelites. And with the inhabitants of Tyre, which is Lebanon, which is over there, of course, where the fake Jews are in Jerusalem right now, perpetrating to be us. All of these places are getting hit with what this virus, this plague is at this particular point in time. They are getting slammed, and and as the weather gets hot, it's going to get worse. Okay, and then just to go on and say, okay, you have 8. Asher also is joined to them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Okay, that's still the Japanese, the children of Lot, and the Chinese. Okay, do unto them as unto the Mennonites, as in Syria, as in Joppin, at the brook of Kishon. And there was a great war, and there was a lot of destruction and a lot of people taken down during that time. So that's why they listed those particular areas. Okay, which perished at Endor. See, they became as dung for the earth. See, this is what the Most High is not playing. He's not playing. He is not playing with them anymore. Make their nobles like Ober, like Zeb, yea, all their princes of Zabah, and of Zalamuna, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahawah in possession, of God in possession. So they've done this, and they thought that they could get away with it, and now it's not working anymore, and they see it's coming down fast. Oh, my power, oh Yahawah, oh my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth a wood, as the flame sitteth and mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. They are terrified of this particular CMCV. They're terrified of this coronavirus because they know that they can't do anything about it, right? Okay. 16, fill their faces with shame that they may seek thy name, O Yahweh. And this is what they will not do. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. See, this is how they are now. They are confounded and they're just in trouble forever, because this coronavirus doesn't go away. Once you get it, you have it forever. Okay. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish. And this is what's happening now. Men may know that thou whose name alone is Yahweh. See, that's what it is. Yahweh art the most high over all the earth. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. Psalms 83 is paramount. I don't hear any of the other camps or any of the brethren talking about this yet, but they're going to get onto it and they're going to understand it, because the Ruach HaKodesh and Yahushua HaMashiach is going to bring this to their mindset. I got it. I just got it. I mean, it just came like within maybe an hour or two or so ago, before I could finish the book of Micah, which is a short book. So I love the way the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, brings these things, because when she brings them, and then you got to go with it and you got to give it, and you can't hold back, you can't hold bars. You just no holds bars. You just got to let it fly. And Baruch Atah Yahweh, Baruch Atah Yahushua. So anyway, all I'm saying is, if you notice, none of the nations, especially this so-called nation that we're in right now, that's supposed to be a religious, spiritual, so-called Christian nation, that's supposed to have such evangelical roots and connection to who they call God, which is a title. That's not his name. That's not who he is. He just told you. He said that men may know that thou whose name alone is Yahweh art the most high over all the earth. You're told right here at the end of Psalms 83 of all the stuff he's doing to the earth, because you don't know him and you won't speak his name in truth and in spirit and in truth. You will not speak it. You notice they will not. They don't even invoke their fake white Jesus right now in terms of calling upon anything like that to rebuke this caveman coronavirus. They don't even do that. They won't even call on their own fake deity to try to rebuke this, because they can't call on Yahweh, because the Most High is pissed off at all of them in this planet. They have done everything opposite of what he said do. Everything that the Most High says in the Bible, in the Torah, to not do, they do the absolute opposite of it. So it's not surprising that at this particular point right now, they don't call on it. You don't hear any of the news anchor people. You don't hear any of the people in government. You don't even hear from these fake religious pastors and people that are supposed to be so prominently out here praying in a large scale situation, like in terms of blasting it all over the news and blasting it all over the airwaves, to pray to their so-called God to save them and deliver them from this caveman coronavirus. You don't see them doing that, okay? Why is that? Okay, if you're supposed to be such a spiritual Christian nation and such a evangelical spiritual world, why aren't you calling on the Most High to deliver you from this plague? Because we Hebrew Israelites, we do call on the Most High and ask for his deliverance, and we ask for his protection and his safety. And Walla, we say, thank you, Father. We say, praise you, Father. We say, call halal, Yahweh. Deliver us from anything that could affect us as a people and a nation. Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. We do that, but you don't see them doing any of that. Why aren't they calling on their fake white Jesus? Where's he at now? I don't seem to see it. I don't see they're not making any calls to that. They go outside with their prayer candles and their vigils, but they don't never mention Yahweh. They don't mention the Father. They don't mention the true name of the Son, Yahushua. They know that he's not for them. They really know it. Look at the oligarchs, the elites that are running the world. They've already ran. They not only run the world, they ran. So the end time, it's time's up, Esau. End time. Now, time's up. Can't call on Yahweh. He's not listening. He's not hearing you. He is enacting his judgment. Take a look. Even one of your own, Thomas Jefferson said, and I'm not going to roughly paraphrase it, but he said, how is it that a righteous God could watch all the evil that has been done on this earth to the people that it has been perpetrated on, and not take action against it? How long will it take before he decides to do that? Well, guess what? Time's up. He's taking action now. The Father is taking action, and they're not calling on his name. You don't hear none of these mega churches out here, none of these other evangelical powerhouses, so to speak. I don't know whoever you're talking about, TD Snakes or Creflo Worthless Dollar, or whoever else you got out here, Joel, I love Wickedness, Osteen. Ain't none of them come out and said nothing about this virus situation and this plague and these plagues and all the plagues that are being released by the Most High Yahawah Shim Yahushua. No, none of them are coming out. None of them are coming to the forefront and saying a thing. They're all sitting back and they're scared, and they should be, because the Most High is not playing anymore. He has had enough, and he's bringing it, and nothing is going to stop what he's doing. That's why when they even go and check to do tests and stuff, they're finding out they're getting false positives and false negatives, because the stuff is mutating and it's converting and it's changing. So by the time they get a test done, it's already something else. It ain't even the same, and it doesn't go away. And then if it does stay, it goes dormant for a minute and then it comes back even worse. So who can control that other than the Most High himself, who they ignorantly call God? And they're not calling on him. If this is going to be bigger and worse than anything that this earth and these people have experienced in this particular end time period. This is going to be really, really big on them, because, and they're just digging a deeper hole for themselves, because they will not call on the Most High. They do not call on who they ignorantly call God, because that's not him, and that's probably why they can't call on him, because they don't even know who he is. They're calling under a fake image that has nothing to do with him. So they're not going to get any support. They're not going to get any help from who they ignorantly call God, because they don't know him and they can't reach him, and he's not listening to them because they don't know who he is. So this is where they are, and this is what's going on. So the CMCV, the caveman coronavirus, is going to go and it's going to attack. And these are the tables of the 18 nations that we should be dealing with in terms of who they are and what the situation is. Okay? If you talk about, it says here, a map of the origin of the nations and the races that were dispersed by Yahweh in Genesis chapter 10. Now granted, you got to take in consideration the people who put this into a literary format. They had an agenda to try to make it seem as though the Most High didn't choose a specific group, a specific nationality and lineage and culture of people, which he did. So they kind of twist it. So you got to be careful how you read certain stuff. So I'm going to try to sift through this and filter out the bullshit, but sometimes it's hard to do that. Shalaki on the language. I didn't mean to do that to you. Genesis 10 lists a total of 70 original founders of the nations of the world, of racial groups, as they call it, racial groups. They are all divided into three primary classifications: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Although the subject of this classification of the nations and the origin of the language is highly controversial, as they say, it's only highly controversial because the Father has a specific inclusion of a lineage that he chose, which are the Hebrew Israelites, as opposed to all other nations in the world. Okay, Jacob I love, Esau I hated, and so on and so forth. But that's roughly paraphrased. But I'm just telling you this: you need to do some study, people. Okay, you can't depend on us always to give you everything. You've got to start looking up things and getting into it while you have time to do that. Okay, all right, finishing. It says, although the subject is, of the classification of nations and the origin of language is highly controversial, as they say, it says ethnologists agree on one key point, that all of mankind can be divided into three basic groups. Okay? All right, according to the Bible, around 4,600 years ago, the entire world was destroyed by a flood except for Noah and his family. And the flood lasted 40 days and 40 nights. And after 150 days, Noah's ark rested upon Mount Ararat. After 2.5 more months, the tops of the mountains became visible. And 40 days later, Noah sent a dove and a raven. The dove returned, and 7 days later, Noah sent forth a dove once again. And this time it returned with an olive leaf. After 7 more days, the dove sent forth once again, and it did not return. Noah's family served that the water had received enough for him to venture forth. He had been in the ark for over a year, and after departing, he built an altar and made a sacrifice. And Yahawah, the Lord, was pleased with Noah's offering and spoke to Noah, saying that he would never again destroy the world with water, and the rainbow appeared as a sign of his promise to all of mankind. And now the people who claim to be homosexuals have hijacked the rainbow and used it as a symbol for themselves, which is blasphemy to the Most High, and he hates that, and they're paying for that as well. Okay, just wanted to say that. All right, for nearly 100 years, Noah's family increased in numbers and prospered, and soon began to migrate according to Yahawah's promise to be fruitful and fill the earth. Okay, then now they snapshot and went straight to the Tower of Babel. So they kind of left out a whole lot of periods of time, but I'm not going to go into that. It's another subject for another time, but I'm going to read what they have. Okay, the Tower of Babel, all of mankind at the time gathered in the Persian Gulf area. Okay, they called it, it was the plain of Shinar, which was in Africa. It wasn't the Persian Gulf. See how they twist stuff? This is what I'm talking about. The region at a place called Babel, and it was here that they followed a leader named Nimrod. Okay, and now Nimrod was, of course, one of the sons of he was grandson of Ham. He was the son of Cush, and he was a dark-skinned individual. Okay, let's understand, all of Noah's sons were dark-skinned individuals. There was no pale son of Noah. Noah didn't have a dark-skinned person, a white-skinned, light white-skinned person, and a yellow-skinned person. He didn't have that. That's crap. They made that up. I'm telling you. Okay. All right. Okay, where we at? Named Nimrod, and built a tower to reach to heaven. It was here that they rebelled against Yahawah, against the Father, and the Lord miraculously scattered them by changing their languages, confusion of tongues, and races listen to that, forcibly distribute them over the face of a year. Genesis 11:1-9. Now, let's just say something about that real quick. First of all, what language were they speaking of at that same time? First, we got to understand that if everyone was speaking one language, what was it? When the Most High decided to communicate in what I call a voice, or a sound based on a vernacular type voice inception of communication, what particular language was prominent or becoming prominent at the time. Now, during that time, I remember some of the people in that area of Shinar in Africa, they were calling the Hebrew people Irvi, the Irvi. Okay, now you can look that up for yourself. Okay, and the Irvi were among others that were there, and then you had Aaron, you had a son, Abraham also had a son named Aram. Aram became the language Aramaic or Arabic, but in between that you had a Phoenician or a Philistine type language, which was Sumerian also in its roots, because, you know, they used to talk about the Sumerian tablets that were available and became available in terms of bringing forth one of the first types of communication in reference to language. Now, when the Most High spoke to Abraham, or he was Abram before he became Abraham, he was with his father Terah, and then his father was was a man who was worshiping idols like the Hamites in that area of Africa. And once that sequence happened between those idols and and Abraham and Abram destroying them and telling his father one of the idols killed the rest of the idols, Abraham or Abram was called out of his father's house and by the father through the father's telepathic communication to his mind in reference to what he was supposed to visualize and do for the father by faith to move out into the land that he was going to possess. Okay, and once that happened, after that point in time, not to digress, the Most High enveloped a language to speak to Abraham, which of course was Paleo-Hebrew. It was a prehistoric style of Hebrew that had a combination of what people call Irvi and Sumerian, Philistia, Aramaic. Okay, so that combination. So during this time, the majority, all the people that were around that Tower of Babel before the time of confusion were speaking a Paleo-Hebrew language. It wasn't Greek, it wasn't Latin, none of that crap was around. Okay, so this is what we were dealing with. So it's important to do some research, do some homework, and look up what I said about that. Okay, all right, now, we jump down and talks about the sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. These three sons of Noah represented the three great races of mankind. And it has above map that shows the table of Yahweh's dispersion of the nations after they migrated from the Tower of Babel. Now, the Shem is now twisted in terms of his name to be called Sem. See, they dropped the H and just made it S-E-M to make it Semitic. There is no son named Sem. It's Shem. It's show you see here. So when they talk about Shemitic, because when it drops down, it's going to say the five Semitic nations. It should say Shemitic nations, not Sem. But that's, again, they have an agenda and they have a narrative that they push and they continue to lie. Okay, it says here, Shem. And then they said his name was Asia. See how they lie? Shem is not Asia, but that's what they named it. Okay, it says here Shem, and then underneath it says Shem, Hebrew name. So why would they put Asia next to Shem? And why would they put just Africa next to Ham? And then why would they put Europe next to Japheth? See the agenda they have? All of these individuals came from the northern African area around that location. None of them came from these specific areas. Now, they may have been some migration to those areas, but that doesn't mean that's where they originated from. See, they lie too much, okay? Shem, the name, was Noah's oldest son and part of Noah's family of 8 who survived the great flood, about 96 years from the flood, right? Shem and his wife were childless before the flood. So they say, but after the flood, Shem bore a son at 110 years of age, and he was father to 5 sons who became the fathers of the 5 Semitic. See, they try to say Semitic family. This is such crap. Semitic nations, as shown below. Shem was actually the father of the nations of the ancient Near East, including the Israelites and the Jewish religion. You see what I'm saying? They just crazy liars, man. And therefore, Judaism, Islam, Christianity sprang from the line of Shem. The Semites were particularly known for their religious zeal. See, you see the bull crap that they put out here in terms of trying to push this as an agenda of truth. This is why the Most High is tearing their asses up, because of this kind of stupid stuff right here, okay? This is what you're not supposed to do. Then this is the 5 Semitic nations. Elam, the Persians, settled northeast of the Persian Gulf. See? Asher, the Assyrians, the biblical name for Assyria, settled between the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers. Okay, Aphranax, the Babylonians settled in Chaldea. Lud, the Lydians settled in Asia Minor, but some of them sailed across the Mediterranean and settled in North Africa. Okay, Aram, the Syrians, the biblical name for Syria, located north and east of Israel. See, they try to intertwine and intermingle their false, fake European religious understanding or narrative in between things that are true, because all of this transpired and happened in on the African continent, um, in the area called Mesopotamia or the Fertile Crest, and none of these other nations that they talk about that have any kind of European affiliation was even involved in this time. The caveman and his people were still in Mount Seir. Okay, they were in that area. They had nothing to do with this. Okay, and now of course then they go into Ham and talking about Africa, and they said Ham, Hebrew, hot or black. Okay, see what I'm saying? Lying all the time. Okay, was Noah's second oldest son and part of the family of 8 who survived the great flood. Ham and his wife bore 4 sons who became the fathers of the nations of Africa. See what I'm saying? Ham's 4th son, Canaan, was prophetically cursed because he gazed at his father's nakedness while he was drunk. That this curse would mean later that Canaan would lose his land to the Hebrews and would be subservient to the descendants of Shem. The Hamites were known for their physical endurance. See, such bull crap that they put out here, man. They try to make that everybody. Then they got Cush, the Ethiopians settled in Ethiopia, south of Egypt. Also early in their history, some of them migrated to an area north of the Persian Gulf. Genesis chapter 10, 8 through 10. Mizraim, the Egyptians, the Bible name for Egypt, settled in northeastern Africa. Put, the Libyans, sometimes translated Libya, settled in northern Africa. And then Canaan, the Canaanites, settled above Africa, east of the Mediterranean, later was given to the Hebrews. See, and then of course Japheth, and then Japheth, they just twisted this all out of place, okay? So, man, anyway, Japheth, Europe, they say, Hebrew, God will enlarge, was Noah's 3rd oldest son and part of the family of the 8 survived the great flood. Japheth and Shem were both greatly blessed for respecting their fathers Noah. Noah's blessings on Japheth was far-reaching for all of his descendants, being the European Caucasian lying asses nations that were mentioned in Genesis 10. The Japhethites were known for their intellectual activity. Really? So if they're so smart and so great, how come they can't take care of the caveman coronavirus? What happened to all them perfect IQs when it comes to that? See, they're such liars, man. They just lie about every damn thing. Okay, anyway, and then of course the the 7 Japhetic nations. They got Gomer. The Cimmerians settled north of the Black Sea, but afterwards his descendants probably occupied Germany, France, Spain, British Isles. Magog, the Scythians, lived north of the Caspian Sea. Madai, the Medes, settled south of the Caspian Sea. Javan, the Leonians or Greeks. Javan is the Hebrew name for Greeks. They settled in Greece. Tubal, the Turks, lived south of the Black Sea. Meshech, the Slavs, lived between the Black and the Caspian Sea. And then Taras, the Erushkins, located west of the Black Sea. Russians and all that, right? So, all right. So basically, those were supposed to be the table of 18 nations for the most part. But as you can see, they had a twisted agenda that was bringing that information in that fashion to the world. But now the Most High he's basically uncovering all the lies. Everything's coming out, and he's doing it by showing you how he's putting these plagues on the nations that have lied and went against him and went against his people. And that's what he's doing, and that's what he has been doing. And we're not going to exclude the fact that individuals that have signed on to these nations that happen to be people from the Hebrew Israelites are also being subjected to some of the punishment and the judgment and the recompense that the Most High is pushing in terms of these plagues. They're not going to be immune to this because they don't want to leave, and they want to stay connected to their slave masters' philosophy and belief system, and they're steady wallowing in it. So they have no protection from the Most High, and they're going to have to deal with that, and they're going to have to suffer through it because they won't go to him and they won't call upon him. Shalaki. Let me have some of my tea here. And so this is what we got going on. All right, so let's get into Micah, man, because this is a mess. And I said enough about that already. The CMCV is going where it's supposed to go, and the Father ain't playing. And so just get ready for the sword that you use on everybody else, because that's what you're doing. See, the Father has already decided who's not saved and who is saved. He's already made that selection. You go to Luke chapter 31 and read 35 and 36, you can see that. If you go to Romans chapter 9, which is everybody pretty much knows that's famous, verse 21 through 22, you can read who he already selected. And of course, Jubilees chapter 2, verse 20 through 23, for those who have access to Jubilees that was taken away. But anyway, Micah, it's a short book. I think we can get it in. Let's do it. Okay, let's talk about Micah, first of all, because Micah is one of the minor prophets, but he has an impact on the northern kingdom and the things that are happening to the northern kingdom. And a lot of the northern kingdom have been getting slammed as well, very, very much by the Most High on the other side of what's happening with all the types of plagues, because they have a lot of wickedness that they still are harboring in their particular areas of the land that they inhabit. They got a lot of fake white Jesus statues and statues of Mary and things that they're worshiping from a Catholicism personification. And because they're doing that, the Most High is very displeased with it, and he's trying to get them to come out with those who are supposed to come out, and they're not. And so that area of the land is being slammed. See, the Father has a very good MO. He will clean the land of the people, but he will rejuvenate and bring the land in itself of the physical terra firma back to its natural inhabitant, as well as to its natural formation. And that's what he's doing now. He's circling up to do that. Okay, so Micah, the Maronite, was of the tribe of Ephraim, having done many things to Ahab. He was killed by Joram, his son, at a cliff, because he rebuked him for his impieties of his fathers. And he was buried in his own district by himself near a burial ground of the Anakim. Okay, so just wanted to get that much of what happened to him before we go ahead and get into the book of Micah in terms of some things we want to read. Now I'm going to go into Micah, and of course I always like to start at the top of the chapter because I think it's important. There's not very many chapters in Micah. I think you got what, seven chapters. That's it. And then we get into Nun. So let's see. All right. The word of the Lord that came to Micah, the Merashite, as I said, in the days of Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, kings of Judah, which he saw concerning Samaria and Jerusalem. Hear all ye people, hearken, O earth, and all therein is that let the Lord Yahawah be witness against you, the Lord from his holy temple. This is what the Most High is doing right now. He's coming to visit. Check it out. He's going to tell you that, okay? All right? For behold, Yahawah cometh forth out of his place, see, and will come down and tread upon the high places of the earth. This is what you see happening right now. That's what I'm saying. I said to you that the lives of the prophets shows a map by Yahawah that the directives of the end time are going forth and being shown right now by the Most High through the lives of his prophets. Okay, it says, I'll read that part again. For behold, Yahawah cometh forth out of his place, and will come down and tread upon the high places of the earth. And the mountains shall be molten under him. You see volcanoes happening, earthquakes happening, mudslides happening under him. And the valley shall be cleft. And then you see that happening as wax before the fire. Fires in Australia and all over the place. He burned paradise down in California. And it as the waters that are poured down a steep place. For the transgression of Jacob is all this, and for the sins of the house of Israel. See what I'm saying? None of the Jakes, none of us get to escape. Nobody is going to get a pass on this. The Most High is correcting everybody. If you have anything to do that you haven't repented for and you haven't moved forward, repentance is uttermost. It's of utmost importance. It is of the maximus of importance. Okay, all right. For the transgression of Jacob, it is all this, and for the sins of the house of Israel. What is the transgression of Jacob? Question. It is not Samaria. See. And what are the high places of Judah? Are they not Jerusalem? Therefore I will make Samaria as a heap of the field and as plantings of the vineyard, and I will pour down the stones thereon into the valley, and I will discover the foundations thereof. He's opening it all up. And all the graven images thereof shall be beaten to pieces, and all the hires thereof shall be burned with the fire, and all the idols thereof will I lay desolate, for she gathereth it of the hire of a harlot, and they shall return to the hire of a harlot. You came out being a harlot, you're going back into being a harlot, and then you're getting destroyed on the way out because you will not turn from that. Therefore I will wail and howl, and I will go stripped and naked, and I will make a wailing like the dragons, and the mooring as of the owl. For her wound is incurable. See, that's what that CMCV, that caveman coronavirus, it's incurable. They can't cure this, right? For it is come into Judah, he is come unto the gate of my people, even to Jerusalem. Declare ye it not at Gath, weep ye not at all in the house of Arabah. Roll thyself in the dust. And that's something that's called the place of the dust, right? Pass ye away, thou inhabitants of Sephar, having thy name naked, and inhabitants of Zenan, came not forth in the morning of Bethiel. He shall receive of his standings. For the inhabitant of Meroth waiteth carefully for good, but evil came down from Yahawah unto the gate of Jerusalem. Now, in my dictionary, I pulled some of the names of the things that I just mentioned. Okay, so let's take a look at some of them. All right, now I said, pass ye away, thou inhabitants of Serapha. Okay, so let's get Serapha. Let's find out where that is. Okay, Serapha. All right, here we go. Serapha, fair. The word is Serapha. Is fair. One of the villages addressed by the prophet Micah 1, is described by Eupius and Jerome as in the mountain district between Erythopolis and Assion, perhaps represented by the village of Eshiar, 7 or 8 miles to the northeast of Ascalon. That's Ascalon, Ascalon. Okay, all right, so now what's the next name that we mentioned? Because I'd like for you to know these names, not just what I'm reading. It's important to know them. Okay, all right, the next one it says here, having thy shame naked, the inhabitants of Zanan came not forth in the morning of Beth-Ezel. Okay, so let's look up Zanan first and get that one. We're going to find that. Okay, Zanan is, Zanan, it says here, a town in the allotment of Judah, situated in the district of Shepheth, Joshua chapter 15:37. It is probably identical with Zanan, Micah 1, of course, in 11, and that's what we read. Okay, now the next name was, it says, came not forth in the morning to Beth-Ezel. He shall receive you in standing. Okay, so let's go to Beth-Ezel. Let's look up that one. Okay, we got that. Okay, Beth Ezel, here it is. All right. Beth Ezel, it means neighbor's house. A place named only in Micah 1:11. From the context, it was doubtless situated in the plain of Philistia, in the Philistine area, in that African area around the Africans. Okay. All right. Let's go with the next one. It says, for the inhabitants of Moroth waited carefully for good, but evil came down from Yahawah unto the gate of Jerusalem. So let's look up Moroth. Okay, we're going to look up this one. Moroth. Where's Moroth? Here's Moroth. Got it. All right. Moroth. Bitterness is what that name means. One of the towns of the western lowland of Judah. Micah 1:12. Okay? All right, we did Moroth. And it says here, 13. O thou inhabitants of Lisha, bind the chariot to the swift beast. She is the beginning of the sin to the daughter of Zion, for the transgression of Israel were found in thee. Okay? And then it goes, therefore shalt thou give presents to Moresheth-Gath. The houses of Achab shall be a lie to the kings of Israel. So let's look up Moresheth-Gath. Okay, we can find that one. Moresheth-Gath. Okay, where is that one? Moresheth-Gath. I know I just had it. Okay, here it is right here. All right. Moresheth-Gath. Moresheth-Gath. That means possession of Gath, a place named by the prophet Micah. Micah 1:14. The prophet was himself native of a place called Moresheth. Okay. All right. It's good to know that. All right. What was the next one? It was, he said, the presents to Moresheth-Gath, a house of Achab, shall be a lie to the kings of Israel. Okay, so we're going to look up Achab, right? It's back this way. I got it here. Okay, I got it. Achab, all right? Achab is lying or false is what it means. A city in the lowlands of Judah named with Kalel of Meshath. Joshua chapter 15, verse 44, Micah 1, chapter 1:14. It is probably the same with Chisba in Chisbadah, which a town belonging to Asher, Joshua 19:29, from which the Canaanites were not expelled, Judges 1, chapter 1:31. Afterwards, Epida, it is now Ezib on the seashore, okay, north of Acre. All right, what was the next one? All right, it said, Achab shall be a lie to the kings of Israel. Yet will I bring an heir unto thee, O inhabitants of Merishah. He shall come unto Adullam, the glory of Israel. Okay, so what's Adullam? Let's look up that. That's right here. Adullam. Where is it? Here it is. I marked it. Okay, Adullam, justice of the people. Okay, Abper Odalom, a city of Judah in the lowlands of the Shephah. Joshua 15:35, the seat of a Canaanite king. Joshua 12:15, and evidently a place of great antiquity. Genesis 38:1, 12 and 20, fortified by Rehoboam in 2 Chronicles 11:7. It was one of the towns reoccupied by the Jews after their return from Babylon, and that was in Nineveh 11:30, and still a city in the time of Maccabees. 2 Maccabees chapter 12:38. Adullam was probably near Deshur Dubin, 5 or 6 miles north of Irathopolis. The limestone cliffs of the whole of that locality are pierced with extensive excavations, some one of which is doubtless the cave of Adullam, the refuge of David, King David, 1 Samuel chapter 22, 1 through 2. Okay, there you go. So I wanted to get those things spoken to because that's important to know those names. If I want to mention them, you might as well know what they're about. Okay, all right, now going on to chapter 2, it says here, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. See, this is what Esau Edom has been doing and is doing, and that's why the CMCV, the caveman coronavirus, is kicking his tail right now and getting all over him because he's practicing evil all this time, and now he's got to pay. We had to pay. He's got to pay. It's just the way it is. Okay? Okay, in their hand. 2, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. This is exactly what they have done to us, and they are continuing to do this to us, and the Most High is tired of it. He had enough. He's correcting this, and he's shutting all this down. Therefore, thus saith Yahawah, behold, against the family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go heartily, for this time is evil. See, that's what the Father is doing. He's bringing that recompense and that evil off of us, and he's bringing it right back to those nations that have done what they've done. Those out of the table of 18 nations, he's showing them. He's shutting them down. Psalms 83, you're getting your recompense. You're getting your CMCV. Deal with it, because here it comes. All right? Now, in that day shall one take up a parable against you, a lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the portion of my people, and hath he removed it from me. Turning away, he hath divided our fields. Therefore thou shalt have none, and that shalt cast a cord by lot in the congregation of Yahawah. Prophesy ye not, say they do them that prophesy, say they shalaki, they shall not prophesy to them, that they shall not take shame. 7, O thou that art named the house of Jacob, is the spirit of Yahawah. Straightened are these his doings. Do not my words do good to him that walketh uprightly. Even of late my people is risen up as a enemy. Ye pull off the robe with the garment from them that pass by, securely as men adverse from war. The Father is not playing, man. He's striking down wicked ass Hebrew Israelites as well as wicked ass Esau Edomites. He's not playing. He's covering it all. If you want to stay locked in and blocked in and ignorant to the truth as it's being revealed and the things that are coming forward, and you want to stick to saying that he's not going to do and he won't do and this, you're seeing absolute opposite of that, and this is what you got coming. Okay? All right? He says here, the women of my people have ye cast out from their pleasant houses, and their children have ye taken away my glory forever. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. That's why the Father's saying, get out, you super coons, and you people who are following along with Esau Edom in terms of his wickedness and his religious practices that are against the Most High, and following fake white Jesus. Y'all need to stop this stuff. You need to stop following all these wicked practitioner holidays and these things that are going on. He's had enough of this. He's not dealing with this anymore. And if you want to continue to do it and stay polluted, you're going to deal with it. If a man walketh in the spirit of falsehood, do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be be the prophet of his people. He said, I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Basra, and the flock, and the flock of the midst of their idol, Shalaki, of their fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. The breaker is come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are gone out by it. And their king shall pass before them, and the Lord, Yahawah, on the head of them. He's not playing. I'm telling you, Micah is breaking it down right here. And I said here, pray, O heads of Jacob, and ye princes of the house of Israel. It is not for you to know judgment. Ooh, Daddy, do it to him. He's telling them. He's not playing, man. All right. He says, who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck off their skin from them and their flesh off their bones, who also eat the flesh of my people and fray their skin from off them, and they break their bones and chop them in pieces as for the pot and the flesh within the cauldron. See, this is the stuff that they have been doing to us since the dawn of time. They have been taking advantage. Now, the Father did pass judgment on us, but they took it too far. And now that they went this far, now they got to pay. You are not going to slip away and say, fake white Jesus save us, all forgive everybody, forgive, let's move on, let's be love, let's be this. No, our Father is balanced, and he's going to have his recompense. You're not going to get away with that, okay? All right, Shalaki, all right? 4, then shall they cry unto Yahawah, but he will not hear them. See, I told you, he's not going to hear you. He will even hide his face from them at the time as they have behaved themselves ill in their doings. Thus saith Yahawah concerning the prophets that make my people err, that bite with their teeth and cry, peace, and he that putteth not into their mouths, they even prepare war against the Father. You got Space Force. There's thousands and thousands of chariots just above the atmosphere of this entire planet. And they are waiting for the signal from the Most High to say, get them. Get on in there. And the world knows it. And I know this government knows it. That's why they shut down the telescopes in New Mexico, all 6 of them, and told people you can't be looking at anything outside the atmosphere anymore. They won't even let you do that. What else? They've seen all those chariots around the sun. What possible vessels, what possible entity could be next to and come from around and behind and through the sun? They're hiding a lot of stuff from folk, man. Y'all just need to get a clue. Okay? All right. 6, therefore, night shall be unto you, that ye shall not have a vision, and it shall be dark unto you, that ye shall not divine. And the sun shall go down over the prophets, and the day shall be dark over them. Then shall the seers be ashamed, and the diviners confounded. Yea, they shall all cover their lips, for there is no answer from Yahawah. And see, that's what they're dealing with now. They're getting no answers from the Most High. Like I said earlier in my commentary, they're not speaking his name. They're not calling upon him. Do you hear anybody saying, we all need to go and pray to God to deliver us from this virus, this plague? No, you don't hear them saying that. They won't say it. They can't say it because they can't even speak his name. 8, but truly I am full of power by the Spirit of Yahawah, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Jacob his transgression, and to Israel his sin. So if we're getting pummeled from staying in this false, fake, religious practitioner system of belief, what do you think's happened to the ones who put it in place? I mean, really, think about it, okay? Hear this, I pray you, Ye heads of the house of Jacob and princes of the house of Israel, that abhor judgment and pervert all iniquity. They build up Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. The heads thereof judge for reward and persist thereof teach, and their priests teach for hire. Shalaki, and their prophets thereof divine for money. Yet will they learn upon, yet will they lean upon Yahweh the Lord and say, it is not Yahweh the Lord among us. None evil can come upon us. See, they're blind. They have no idea. They don't know what they're into. They don't know what's coming their way. And they're about to pay for it. And the Father's saying, you going to listen to them? You go ahead and listen to those fake TD Jakes and TD Snakes and Creflo Worthless Dollar and Joel. I'll lie to you and smooth talk Osteen all you want. But I'm going to tell you right now, you see they're going down. Therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountains of the house of high places of the forest. 4. But in the last days, see, here's what I was talking about. In the last days it shall come to pass that the mountains of the house of the Lord shall be established in the tops of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and the people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountains of Yahweh the Lord, to the houses of our power of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and he will walk, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. That's talking about all of the scattered Hebrew Israelites that are all over the world, all over the earth. They're going to come through those nations that they were called, that they were transformed into, and they're going to be called to the Most High and come out, and they're going to come and worship and bring back what the Most High set up from the beginning. This is not talking about any other nations of the world. It's just talking about the Hebrew Israelites that have been assimilated and homogenized into those particular locations around the world that they call other nations, okay? That's all he's looking for. He's not looking for anybody else. 3. And he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. See, this is what the Father is doing. All right, and then we're going to skip over here to chapter 5 and go to, it says, and the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of my people, as the dew from Yahweh, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. 9. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thy enemies shall be cut off. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh the Lord, that I will cut off thy horses out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots, and I will cut off the cities of thy land, and throw down all thy strongholds, and I will cut off witchcraft out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. Thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee, and thou shalt no more worship the work of thy hands, and I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee, so will I destroy thy cities, and I will execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. See, Father ain't playing. He is going to take them down. And of course, in chapter 7, woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits as the great gleanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desireth the first ripe fruit. And as you can see, the Father's not playing. Here he says, trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in the God. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in the bosom. And then, of course, here, for the son dishonoreth the father, and the daughter riseth up against the daughter-in-law, and against the mother-in-law.